So in part 3, I would like to show you now how we can use the different tools and in general what a good or best practice is for how to structure your digital rendering. Let's start with a very basic object, a mixing bowl I created, and I used a various set of tools. Obviously I used markers for the yellow backdrop. I also used markers for the basic shading of the bowl. Then I used a grainy airbrush that actually shades a little bit more the bowl, because marker alone is kind of very harsh, so you can't really get nice and soft shading, specifically on rounded objects. And I find this mix of airbrush and marker to work really well. I also used a colored pencil to add broader and burning highlights, and then kind of like a ball tip pen like pen with pressure variation to outline the contour lines, add mesh lines, etc. So the file I will give you is this. It's very empty and only has kind of like a basic structure of my sketch I created to construct that object accurately. If we go to the layer, you can see that actually you have a paper texture with a dot system behind, and then there is actually our kind of like the wire mesh. Okay, so maybe let's start with the easiest part first, and we will actually in this case work on the backdrop. I will here open my final image here, move this one over so you can see all the time what I'm actually working on. Okay, good. Let's move this one to there. And yeah, there is my I make a new layer. This layer I put actually below, and for example this layer I will name yellow backdrop. Okay, good. Let's close this. I would like to sample the color, so I can hold my eyedropper, get this yellow color, go to my brushes. There, where's my marker? Let's see. Yeah, there's my marker. Okay. The initial sketch was actually not done in PainstStorm, that was done in Concepts, so the result will feel a little bit different. So I can't match the result 100%, but it's actually nice to show you a comparison between a vector result and then also kind of like a pixel-based result. Okay, I will scale this one down a little bit so I don't have to move my hand so much. And as you can see, I have kind of like a structure in the background, and just create another layer, because on that layer for the moment I just want to sketch down maybe some proportions, so maybe roughly there and roughly there and there, so I plus minus kind of I can see what area I have to put the marker down. I go back to that marker layer, switch back to my marker brush. Okay, and let's see. So that's the actual size. I will now make this a tick bigger there. Maybe the opacity I want to lower a little bit. Yeah, okay. Maybe like this. Good. So, and then you can start putting the lines down. Unfortunately, because I'm screen recording directly from the device I'm doing the sketches on, and this is a pretty heavy calculation here right now. This gets a little bit sluggish, as you can see, so I will have to draw a little bit slower. Okay, Perfect. You notice that I drew everything a lot bigger than maybe necessarily I need, and that has a very specific purpose, because you don't want to only draw that small frame you need. We want to actually draw bigger, and then later we start clipping the result we only need. So I will above create another layer, because now I will actually frame this part. So let's go to my pencil. There's my pencil pen. Okay, good. I didn't show you yet how to use the guide system, so this might be a good introduction. We have, when we turn on the guides, we have ruler, ellipse, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 1 point is there, and I want to have the ruler. So I can move this one to, actually I don't need to move it to anywhere. That's a nice thing about this program. I can simply start drawing horizontally where I want the lines, and it just follows the ruler. So maybe somewhere there, yeah, okay, and maybe somewhere there, let's say there. Good. And then I would like to make this one vertical, so I have to rotate this one closely, and then wherever I would like the line, I just draw my yellow line. Okay, good. Let's turn the ruler off. Now I would like to erase stuff. You can actually go to the eraser and then erase this stuff there. There's also, I think, in the hotkeys tools, unfortunately, I do not actually, I think, because it's on the iPad now, see that function, but there is one function where you can switch between the erase function of a tool and switch to an eraser. So actually, you see here every tool has an eraser function. Now this actually paints yellow, and now it becomes an eraser. And I have on my screen down here the eraser button. When I click it, it actually turns it either into eraser or a pencil. It's actually quite useful. So I will clean this up there, and maybe a little bit there. Maybe a little bit more here, there, and I would like this one to fade off a little bit more. So I will turn off the erase function of the brush and actually go to my dedicated soft edge eraser, and I will adjust the opacity so that it erases but not so strong. Here, maybe this way. Yeah, so it was less the opacity, it was more that slider. See, this way then we can fan out actually lines afterwards. Okay, good. Goody. So how do I get rid of now my marker lines? There are two ways. I could actually select the marker layer and then add a layer mask. So there you see, there's my layer mask. And the way how the layer mask works, unlike Photoshop, you see it's empty and transparent. And in Photoshop or other programs, it's black and white. And black stands, let's say, for opaque, and white stands for transparent or masking. And here it basically works based on if the layer mask is transparent, then nothing is masked, and where I start painting something in, it becomes masked. The nice aspect of PainstStorm is it doesn't care what color you use, because it only deals or cares about opacity or transparency. So I made before, as you maybe remember, this basic brush. Whoops, wrong panel. And there. So I want now to go to this layer. Okay. And then there I can start painting in it. If I made a mistake, I could turn on the erase function. Here, let me show you. And you see there actually how I'm now erasing what I drew inside that layer, or sorry, mask, and then where I erase, stuff appears again. So this is actually pretty nice. We can also maybe turn on, in this case here, the selection tool. Maybe makes it a little bit easier, so I could draw quickly only in that area and do not go over that line. So let's make another selection down here, select the tool, and then paint in there. Okay. And you see there is a red cross on top screen below other. That actually deactivates that selection. And now I would have to go back to my brush, and I have to adjust the size, and I have to, oh, I'm still inside the selection, so turn that off. And then I can start, whoa, that was too much. Start removing this area. I have a rotate function here for my document, so it's easier now to draw that for me. I have to adjust the size, and then I just try to follow this as close as possible. Don't be too picky about it, because if you go over it a little bit, or if you, how could I say that? Okay, restart. What I meant with don't be too picky about it is simply just get close to the edge where you erase, because then later when we draw the contour lines for the object, we can hide kind of like maybe some issues, the way how we cleaned up certain parts. So there's no reason to be super accurate. Think about the way, or the process we use is similar to like how you ink cartoons. You draw the outlines and then we fill the colors inside. There, let me see. Works pretty good. Okay, so that's one way. We can actually select the object or the layer, move this stuff around. See here the masking layer can be moved. It's actually quite nice. And if I select the complete layer, that whole part now moves. See, the mask actually stays. Pretty nice. So where is this actually useful for now? You see, if I want to adjust a little bit more the position of the markers, the clipping mask or the layer mask cuts the stuff for me, and I'm a little bit more creative and flexible in exploring different positions that maybe satisfy what I'm looking for. And then here maybe I have to make sure I have enough paint put down inside the layer mask. So that's the way how the layer masks works. Let me show you how the clipping mask works. So then it's up to you to decide which one you want to work with. So we have to create a new layer, and this layer has to be below the image we would like to clip. So let's rename this one. Clipping there. Okay, good. And the key now is that we work with white color here. So this one is actually color-wise sensitive. So I go to pure white and I maybe draw myself a selection here like this, and then I can fill it. Okay. Let's go to maybe there and fill also that part. Okay, good. And here let's put something down. Where's that line? I don't see it. Put something down there. Okay. Good. Let's remove this, and then the rest here we actually have to paint again. So let's turn this one off for a moment. Painting white on a kind of paper color, so it's obviously not ideal. But if you work, for example, on a black background, you can easily see where this clipping mask would be. Okay, so how does this work now? You select your yellow backdrop and then you click this one icon here, which I will activate, which is called the, you see it's here, toggle clipping mask. And then with toggle on and off, you can always see it. So it works in a similar way. We can select the clipping mask layer and just move it around. And you see that then adjusts actually where the yellow part or the yellow backdrop will be clipped. I can also select the yellow backdrop layer and then there move this part around. The nice thing about this is the clipping layer can be used by more than one layer. So here I will actually add another layer. Then I turn this one on and I will use a different color so you can see it better. There, and yeah. Okay, let's paint. See, nothing's there, and there's my stroke. So when you work with different layer masks, the thing is, if you mask sometimes the same shape or edge, you have to work with, or you have to create multiple layer masks for each layer. And here we can simply create one mask and clip multiple layers. That's actually the advantage of this one compared to pure layer masks, because again, they can only be linked to one layer. In PainstStorm, I personally prefer to work with the clipping layer function because of the added bonus of having the ability to use it on multiple layers. Okay, so I might have to readjust actually this clipping position, maybe something like there. And the way how this one works is I have to fine-tune this a little bit. So this brush is selected. So what color do I have? Let's set this to white. Okay. And what's the size? This is too big. There. So then I can start in painting in the clipping layer, kind of like filling it so that I start actually getting the details I want. Now when you're on a mouse and you don't have a tablet or so, this actually might already be quite a tricky task to get these curves really nice. So let me show two options. Option number one, we can use the stabilizer. So it's simply easier to do you have to draw a little bit slower. Now I have to turn on the erase function, but then you can still get the same smoothness of curves. That will require a little bit of practice, but you see you can get really nice results. And the more you zoom in, actually, I feel the easier it will be really to get these shapes. So that's kind of like one way. The other way is to maybe use for those elliptical shapes, actually, the ellipse template. There. So where is it? It's there. So here we have the center point, the radius, and then also the ellipse. So I guess all we have to do is try to find the correct position or something that seems to be close. There, okay. And again, the nice thing about PainstStorm is we do not have to draw exactly along the line. We can also draw outside and work ourselves closer to it. And you see then this way we can get, even with a mouse, very crisp and nice roundings or edge details. It might take a little bit of practice as well, obviously. So I'm going to be a little bit choppy here on purpose, because I want to show you later that this doesn't really matter, because when we put our contour line over it, the contour line hides, for example, this choppiness there. So try to be economically about it. Try to work clean, obviously, but don't overdo it. Things you later don't see is, technically speaking, nothing else than just wasted time. And always make sure of rotating your page so it's easier to do this stuff. If you have a laptop that actually has the ability of a touch screen, you can, I don't think you can use pressure sensitivity, but for sure you can actually simply drag along the shapes with your finger and then do the same as well. Okay, perfect. So down here, all this, whoops, this actually should go there. Okay, and I'm actually a genius. I just realized that, well, I actually clipped the part I do not want. I clip the part I want to see, and actually I show the stuff I do not want to see. So that was a genius. So obviously this has to be reversed. So the outside has to be selected. Well, okay, maybe this mistake can be good to show some of the tools. So there we have the ability to select, let's say, the outside. So everything that's not currently having white paint. And maybe we simply fill that part. Okay, and then we go to selection and say invert, and then we can cut it. So we delete it. So I use the cut function. Okay, now we are back to the way how it actually should be. Okay, so And there. Nice. Okay, this actually has to be smaller there, because nope, this is correct actually. There is that line. Good, good, good. Okay, I want to see where's this red dot. Unfortunately I put it in there. Okay, well, unfortunately it's in it. Okay, so this part can go, and that's our overlay. Okay, you see, one very easy way, nice and quick and efficient to get that part done. So let's take a look at the next yellow element. So maybe the overmolded yellow bottom part and then the handle. So I can create a new layer and let's say rename, and this should be, let's say, yellow base. Okay, good. I would like to go to my marker. Let's zoom in. Oh, what's going on? Well, we have white selected. Okay, let's drop this color. Okay, there. Size can be a little bit lowered. And for the moment, I will go to the actual drawing and zoom in a little bit. So you see, I use only few lines. I started on the top, so I get kind of like a thin coat, and then at the bottom where the base is rounded and maybe has a shadow, I went over 2-3 times to give it a little bit more saturation. So like there, this is actually not on top. Okay, I actually would like in this case to change my brush, because this one is not rotating. Pen direction, stroke direction. There, maybe there. Yeah, down overlap. Maybe like this. There, 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 maybe there, maybe one more. You have to experiment a little bit. The thing is, try not to overthink this stuff. Be rather quick. Few strokes, and then call it good. So because this is a single object here, I will add a mask to it, and I have to select my brush. Oh, the rope is still turned on. Oh, I thought I had this actually selected there. Okay, and now I can go ahead and start cleaning this up. But also here, before I do this, let's bring in my ellipse template. It's there, let's bring it down. Let's get kind of like the correct size there, maybe plus minus, maybe a little bit higher. Okay, and then I have to adjust that. Okay, yeah, maybe close. Yep, this seems to be good. Okay, let's show this, and then I start from the outside painting in the mask. Why do I have this tool again? Okay. and then nice even strokes around it. And you see I can clip this stuff really nice and clean. So pay attention to kind of where my tool runs around. What's really important is where you start drawing, then later you can go in, but you see it pulls a little bit, but it actually flows there. Maybe, let's see, maybe I have to do this in some steps there. Okay, the last one I leave. And then this one actually will be a little bit smaller. This moves up to there. I think that should plus minus describe it. And now I can do the same in the inside. Yeah, I didn't hit it correctly, but I don't want this demo to take too long. So I will leave it at this. But you see, this actually doesn't look too bad. So here I will just go in by hand and just bring the stuff back, because with the pencil it actually works really well, even hand drawn, and with the steady curve. So you will see that these templates for like ellipse or so are actually very tempting, but they're not necessarily always that much more productive, specifically when you have the ability to smoother stroke. Then I guess you can see I get something that's incredibly close just by drawing a little bit more carefully along it. And here with the eraser, clean this up. There. Perfect. No? You see, this actually looks really nice, the structure. Maybe I got a little bit too dark in the area I'm erasing here right now. That should have been a little bit brighter, but it's also on the right side where more shadow is, because the light comes from the left. And here what I'm erasing, you see that area is very bright, so it feels like it actually got most of the light. Okay, goody. So we can then actually maybe work on the shading for the base. You see this is actually broken up into two elements, the lower part and then the upper part of the bowl. Since we can have unlimited layers, try to work with that. So there. Let's go back. This time I want actually my white marker. Stabilizer, yeah, I don't need it this case, and I would like to have a nice gray. Let's see, yeah, maybe something like this. So when you see that I have something there and there and there and there, pay attention to maybe how the highlights could work. So before you do too much painting, do something rather quick, kind of like to get an idea if maybe an approach is feasible, if it would work out. Maybe like this. No, let me see. Yep. Okay. Not okay. Maybe my strokes here are stylistically a little bit too narrow. Too many lines I have to draw. And there I can see the saturation is way too much. So first I would like to adjust my color, maybe something like this. Yeah, I see that works better already. Okay, I think I'm getting close to just do it. So if I go back to here, the right side you see has a small highlight on it, and to the center it gets darker, and then here as well to the left edge it gets a little bit brighter. So I will do exactly the same here. So this maybe comes down to there. I will have also one line down there, one line down there, there, and then you can play with the different directions a little bit. And maybe one more. Yeah, so stroke is maybe a tick too thick now, because down here it gets very black. So okay, was a good idea. And a little bit smaller. I just have to apply more strokes. Also, the orientation in this case here is really important, so it really feels like this is actually a bowl and not a cylinder, based on how these lines come down. Yeah, maybe like this. We can keep it. I will create another layer and then kind of use what I have there as a reference. That was not good because I didn't overpaint. So zip, nope. Zip, nope. Yeah. Maybe like this. Okay, perfect. And then it's time to do the masking. So where's that one edge? I have to see where that line goes along. I don't see it right now. So I will hide this part. It's down there. Okay, I'm actually close. And let me rotate this one. Whoops. What helps here is you simply draw over the lines so you can see them better. And then we simply bring the stuff back. And if we went over again, we just erase it. There, a little bit here, a little bit there. And then with the yellow stuff, that's easier because we can easily see where it has to stop. Clean all this stuff up. So what you want to prevent is what I have here. You want to prevent those white kind of like streaks. So it's rather okay you start painting a little bit over it, then ending up actually with kind of like these white gaps, because the color contrast will make them always stand out. You see here, like with the eraser, bring the line a little bit down so it just touches it, and that's fine. And then later we will even further hide this, because we will put a nice line, actually black line, over it. Okay, see, not too bad. So let's do the same with this one here. So let's go in, see where is that line. I was actually quite close. Let's clean up all this stuff. Zoom in more. Bring the detail back. And then here we do the same. I'm rather okay having a little bit of an overprint than seeing a white edge. Yeah, okay. And then up here we have to clean this up. So I will pause the video right now because I want to create the other part and not make this video longer than necessary, because then after that step we will then go into applying a little bit of airbrushing, etc. So here you can see I'm pretty close to have this one done, and I will just erase these parts and then have tiny overlap in this area. So again, just making sure no wide areas. Try to keep this gap tiny as possible, because as you can see already, it calculates together. So here I might have to bring this actually up. So it doesn't really matter necessarily what part you do it on there. Okay. So this is kind of like the gray marker base. If the tone is too strong, too saturated, we still can later, for example, adjust the values. So 61.4, 61.4 there. Oh, it's a little bit more brighter, not so saturated. So no big problem in case later things look a little bit too strong. There are still ways how we can adjust it. Under this part, so a layer below, I will actually now do my airbrush, because as you can see, I have here a small airbrush. So the right marker basically darkens the right side, and then the airbrush adds a little bit of roundness to it. And you see here on the left side, I have on the left side or left edge the main marker, and then there is a small line that comes down. It's kind of like to indicate that it's a more glossy surface. It's kind of like a small streak. So this could be now my airbrush, and let's go to my airbrush there. I have to see what setting I have. So that's the size, opacity. Yeah. With the opacity again, you want that to be soft, so you can better actually blend stuff. And this is now done with an airbrush that has no texture. So for comparison, let's use a texture. And maybe the contrast has to be higher. Let's see. Maybe not too much. Okay. Texture is a little bit strong, but it's okay. I just leave it this way so we can see a little bit the difference. Okay, so let's zoom in with texture. Oh, where is it? Oh yeah, there, without texture. This looks very smooth. This has a texture to it, and I feel this actually fits better to the marker because the markers are textured anyway, and this could even look like a little bit of pastel. So zip, be gone the one that is too soft. And then we can add a layer mask if we want, or work with the clipping mask, and then continue cleaning this stuff up. I will pause here as well, because then in the, oh no, actually I can, no, yeah, I will make a small pause here. I will add 2 more elements to it, and then I will show you how I would finish everything with the outlines and then the highlight lines. So I added quickly a little bit on top of the handle, so you see it's a little bit orange, and the other part I shaded a little bit. Currently this kind of looks kind of messy, and the thing is it's just bland. We just only have the marker stuff. If we go to the final version, you can see that we've added lines, the mesh contour, and highlights, etc. This really starts to pop out a lot more. And that's kind of like the part now I would like to talk with you about a little bit. So let's say we would like between the orange and the gray handle part, there's maybe a small fillet or an edge. So we need to have a shadow line and we need to have a highlight. So maybe the highlight we can with white. And let's go to brushes. And for something like this, I prefer to use the pencil, simply because a pencil has a nice structure. So we'll add another layer. That's now for my highlights. And let's see how maybe we can do this. Put this over. Okay, oh, this is way too big. So maybe this size. Yeah, okay. Unfortunately, I might have to actually, to make it pop better, have the opacity stand out more. Yeah, okay, good. So a little bit of stabilizer so the curve will flow nicer, and then start somewhere else, press, and draw along it. And try to hit that shape. Okay. Try when you draw always not to block what you try to draw over with your hand, so you can always see it. Maybe a line on there. And then we can do the same with black. Compare it to the other side. Ooh, but not too strong. Maybe here. So if this is a highlight, the shadow, I think it has to be actually more here. Yeah. Okay, good. You see, already gets a little bit of quality. So down here we have maybe the same. So I have now to adjust this a little bit. So there and there. Let's bring this one down to maybe there. Okay, and let's see where this line is. So that's actually on top. So I draw this along there. And when you draw these lines, don't necessarily just full pressure draw along it. So here in the back, I will have a lot of darkness. And then here to the front, I just simply break out. So less pressure here. Again, it's a shader area. Whoops. If you do not want to draw next to it, we can actually turn on in other snap to guides. Or I think that's here the same function, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. So here, snap to guides. Just turn it on, and then you draw directly on the guide. It's a little bit easier, and then a little bit of pressure. There it's brighter. That shadow line wouldn't be as visible. And then when I go back to white, obviously in this case now I do not want to snap on it, but draw actually next to it. I don't really have much in that area, but now maybe a lot more there, and then to the end here I fade it out. That's the shadow area. Here maybe a little bit. and then to the front where we have the light, we would see this actually more. It shouldn't turn out into a fine arts painting, but you see that a little bit of variation in the position, strength, and size of these lines really actually helps a lot. So here also maybe I need something like this. There. Let's bring this one up. This looks actually close to this maybe. There. And oh, I didn't hit it right. The ellipse is still not very good. So in that case here, let's try this out again. Instead of spending a lot of time trying to get this right with the ellipse, I roughly know how this has to look. And I maybe try to use the freehand drawing, but I drew to my body, so that actually made the line rather jiggleish, so better again rotate it. I will turn the rope in this case and then use that to do it. There, see. Not really much more complicated, and you have kind of like what you're looking for in less of the time. It's one of the main reasons very often why I say in class, just draw with a ball tip pen or so, because if you make a mistake, you can't fix it. It forces you to be a little bit more focused. And the same with all the guide tools. The more you use it, the more you do not actually develop good hand coordination and motion, which is really crucial for this type of drawing. Because then sometimes if you put a little bit of practice in, you can get very good results drawn freehand with some other tools like the steady curve, instead of using the like ellipse tools or fridge tools. No, I don't know if this actually okay, works out. Well, let's take a look. No, not too bad. And that way you just continue. So let me go back to the final object, because there are a few elements I would like to point out. So you see later here as a highlight, I used a pencil, and just with the broad part of my pencil and a strong texture, just put a diffuse highlight over it. And then maybe a burning highlight if you want to. It can be just effect stuff just to improve the drawing visually a little bit, but it's not necessarily like a must-have. Also here you can see very often I have variation in the stroke thickness and pressure. Also lines overlap, so I have lines next to each other but they're very close. Also here a lot of these rounded parts, they're all drawn actually freehand instead of using the tool. I think only here for the ellipses there I used the ellipse tool a little bit more. Now to separate, for example, the handle from the yellow backdrop, a yellow handle on a yellow backdrop is kind of silly, I drew this white contour line around it. And let me see which one it is. Highlight lines, highlight pencils. There. It's okay, it's not too bad, but maybe with this added, you really draw the viewer's attention to it. And here maybe without the pencil highlights. You see it looks a little bit flat. I just work with the empty space of the marker where I did not brush over it, so you can see that there should be a highlight, but it didn't work out very successfully, so I just then later added a little bit of a white color over it. Also, the spout, because it is kind of like a different geometry than the bowl, it needs a different type of shading, and you can see that the right side of the spout is actually a little bit darker. So here I'm going to hide this. You see it's an overlay that adds over it to just darken the base color. And then also the inside, oops, wrong one. Oh, there. I left it actually in my first drawing this way. Woo, what happened? But I felt that it's too empty. You start looking at it too much. So I added a little bit of tonal range over it so it blends in. And then the black lines really help shaping or sculpting the different parts. Yeah, and that's basically everything for today. How to do this bowl just with marker, airbrush, ink lines, and the pencil.